All right, Nick, let's talk about the Florida State Seminoles. The Seminoles have been on a tear lately in one specific category. They've been absolutely killing it, knocking it out of the park. I think people may have been sleeping on this team a little bit, but I think they are absolutely destroying in one thing in particular. We're going to dive into that and all the details surrounding it in here in just 1 second. But first, I am Andrew. That is Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, the Seminoles, one really great category they're absolutely excelling in for this year. Last year, not great. The year before, really great. This is a team that's been up and down, but it seems they're on the uptrend now. And I think that's really good for Seminoles, especially when you're talking about recruiting. Something is very paramount to the college football world. And this is a team that I think after last season, you look at what was going on, there's some cause for some concern. Is there going to be a huge drop-off in the recruiting category? Are people going to be shying away from this team because of a disappointing season? I think even more than disappointing. It was downright ugly as far as how things went. But no, that is not the case. They have been crushing it, and these last 2 months have been on fire. Let's go ahead and look at exactly what I'm talking about, and then we can break everything down on the other side. So first up, we have our chart here showing since the beginning of the year, groupings of months, how many recruits have the Seminoles got in said months. We look first January to March. What were they able to drag in there? 2 recruits. Okay, that's not impressive. You look at April to May. Look there in gold. 1 recruit they're able to get in that time span. So in those first 5 months, not a whole lot going on for the Seminoles. But we look in June and July, 14 recruits they were able to drag in. Really impressive stuff. The Seminoles have been flying off the page in the recruiting game this last 2 months, as talking about the June and July months, which are very, very crucial months for recruiting. A lot of good work gets done. A lot of work gets done all around the year. But for the Seminoles, you get to see in June and July, they've absolutely turned this class around, made it to be a top 15 class in the country, which I think is important because if we go back and look at 2025 class, this is a class for the Seminoles as far as what they were able to bring in here. It was good. It was 19th overall. That's coming off of that 2024 season, where a large part of that class came in. 19th is good. You'd expect after this year, though, to have a huge drop-off in production. You expect them to be, in the low 20s, in the 30s somewhere after the season they have. But no, in fact, there are 4 slots higher this year than where they were with the 2025 class. So again, really great stuff for the Seminoles. I think they're on an upward trajectory here. And I think it's all because of the work that Coach Mike Norvell has put in the recruiting game, just showing this team is starting something special. I think this is going to be a big year. I think they're going to really bounce back from the norm because people have confidence in what they have going on. We're talking about 2026. We're talking about 1 year in the future here as far as when these recruits are going to hit. But I think the confidence that these recruits show in FSU shows that a lot of people think this team is going to bounce back and have a big year this year. You're not getting 14 recruits in the months of June and July if people think this is a failing program, if people think there's going to be a repeat of what happened last year. Not the case. FSU is on the right track, and I'm really excited about what they have going on here for this month of June, or last 2 months, of June and July. Curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick, but before we get to you, Seminoles fans, in the comment section below, let us know, what are you liking as far as this recruiting class goes? Is there any recruits that stand out to you? Was there any position of need that really need to get fixed that you think they have solved in this 2026 class? Let us know in the comment section below who you think is the most beneficial recruit in this 2026 class in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what are your thoughts on everything here for the Seminoles?
So it's important to understand the context, and FSU fans, or of course football fans in general, if you're deep in the weeds, of course people remember new Florida State quarterback Thomas Castellanos. He made the comments in a June interview, basically talking about he's not afraid of Alabama, right? They're going to do some great things against Alabama. And people were very surprised. Oh, he's being very aggressive. You're talking crap about Alabama. That's usually not a good recipe. But you have to understand what's going on here in Florida State. The Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, author, does a lot of really good stuff. He talks a lot about persuasion and sales. And that's what basically recruiting is. It's persuading and selling to a high school prospect to come to your program. Adams always says the first step of persuasion is attention. If people aren't paying attention to you, you can't sell, right? That's why if you look at an ad on TV, they're usually, they have some pop, they got some juice, they got something funny about it, they got a celebrity on it, they got something that grabs your attention. That's what Castellanos did. He grabbed the college football world's attention, saying, hey, listen, we're going to beat Alabama or whatever. He said, I think to quote him here, they don't have Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me. So, okay, again, he says Alabama can't stop them because they don't have Nick Saban anymore. So, again, grab the attention of the college football world. All right, what does Norvell do? He gets that first step of persuasion, then he sells, right? There's a direct correlation. Castellanos has these interviews. What happens? Florida State's recruiting success spikes because Norvell took advantage of the attention that his quarterback brought the program. Now, I'm not saying that Norvell told Castellanos to say this. I pretty much guarantee you that he did not. But smart, effective coaches, smart, effective recruiters take advantage of whatever opportunities come their way. And when you have a lot of attention on you, that's your opportunity to persuade. Because I guarantee you there's a healthy amount of recruits throughout the college football world, nationally, locally, regionally, who were kind of like, Florida State down year. Maybe I want to pay attention to Florida. They got DJ Lagway, South Carolina, Lenore Sellers, Alabama, Georgia, right? Maybe I want to pay attention to those schools. And then suddenly they turn on ESPN or they turn on TikTok or Twitter or whatever, and they see Florida State's in the news talking crap about Alabama before their big time matchup this season. Now all these recruits are like, oh yeah, Florida State. And then the next thing they get is a call from Mike Norvell, and suddenly they're coming to Tallahassee. Suddenly they're coming on an official visit. They're getting wined and dined. They're getting treated. And next thing you know, they realize it's a great spot for them, and then they commit, right? And then you have some compounding effects, and other recruits see Florida State, the news, they hear other recruits are committing. They now want to talk about FSU, and it just builds on itself, right? Again, this is what smart recruiters do. This is what smart programs do. They take advantage of any attention that comes their way, right? It's the old adage, any publicity is good publicity, especially in the art of sales. A lot of times what can happen to programs is that when they fall, they don't even have to lose, right? But when they fall out of just the media zeitgeist, their recruiting falls off a cliff, right? This is what Oregon did famously a long time ago with Chip Kelly when he was their head coach. You guys remember when they had like the flashy, crazy uniforms? Why the heck did they do that? What was the point of that? The point was to get attention. The point was to always be in the news, to have everyone always talking about you. That's what got them the recruits. People on ESPN and other dumb people, not to be too mean, but they're like, oh, all these recruits, all these high school kids, they want to go play with these flashy uniforms. We want to get flashy uniforms. So teams like Maryland, like Under Armour, they made really flashy uniforms. But Maryland's recruiting didn't get better. Why? Because it wasn't about the uniforms. It was about getting attention. And once you got the recruits' attention, then you could sell them. That's exactly what Mike Norvell did here. It's an incredible job by him. Again, he did not tell, or at least I'm willing to bet, I don't know for certain, he did not tell Castellanos to make these comments about Alabama, but he took advantage of the opportunity, executed on it, and proved he's a good salesman and an effective strategist when it comes to winning on the recruiting when the opportunities are there. It is very hard in recruiting to be consistent every single week, every single month. But when the energy, the momentum is on your side based on publicity, you have to take advantage of it, right? That's one of the reasons why we always look at programs that had a very successful season kind of out of nowhere. You remember TCU made the national championship game a few years ago. They were in the news, right? And then their recruiting didn't bounce because of that. And then we were like, okay, they're going to fall off a cliff because they got the most media attention they're ever going to get, and they didn't take advantage of it. They're going to collapse. Lo and behold, they collapsed. Florida State, they got some attention. They got the eyes of the media on them. They got the eyes of high school prospects on them after the June interview, and they took advantage of it. Great job by Mike Norvell. Great job by his entire staff, and the future is a lot brighter in Tallahassee because of it.
Yeah, Nick, and I think there's, you bring up some great points. I think this is a team that's very strategical on how they're doing things. And I think we talked about it earlier this offseason as well. We look like the 2025 class. This was a team that when they thought potentially 2025, this is a year they really need to turn things around quickly. What they do, they went out and hit the transfer portal hard, and we talked about how this is one of the best transfer portal teams in the entire country, top 6 right now for 2025. And I think that also shows, great strategy as well. You talk about capitalizing on the Castellanos comments, which I think is a great way that they're able to get some attention, some notoriety, almost Deion Sanders-esque as far as getting your name in the media. Keeping your name in the media, we have seen for Colorado, has been extremely successful. It doesn't really matter how good you are if you can, in a way that's positive, kind of, Castellanos' comments come off a little bit cocky, braggadocious, but also at the same time, they have confidence behind them. If you can keep that message around people that, I like a team that has some swagger, I like a team who lets me be that individual, you do that. Then, on top of that, get a lot of transfers coming in this 2025 class, show that a lot of older guys like this team as well concentrate there when you have potentially a down year as well. I think this is really smart strategy by Mike Norvell as far as getting this team on an upward trajectory quickly. We all know that last year was a little bit of an aberration that was kind of funky that they did as poorly as they did. I think Florida State is on the upswing. And I think decisions like this, abilities to capitalize on things that are kind of out of their control, you never know what the media is going to take and run with, but they're able to do so. Have a great recruiting month in June and July, and I think if they can continue to spin that up and go through the next few months and continue the recruiting, don't have to get 14 recruits. That was insane. But if you can continue the next 3 months getting 5-6 guys every month, this team is going to be in a really good spot for the future. And I think right now, because of what they did in the transfer portal, they're going to be really good right now as well.